From years of anxiety to warrior and mentor, Bradley Robinson created the Anxiety Project to help you end your anxiety naturally. Let's mold the new you and let's end anxiety together.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Anxiety Project podcast. This is your host with the most on anxiety recovery, Brad Robinson, coming at you today with the 6 habits of a health anxiety sufferer. Now, these are really big habits, ones that I've done back in the day when I suffered from health anxiety. And they're very common, I find, with most people. So I put together this list of the most common habits. But before I get into the common habits, I just want to touch on some stuff and kind of go on a tangent a little bit regarding a few things before the six habits. And I want to first start off by saying that, we run our habits from our subconscious, right? Our subconscious is what's keeping our patterns intact, right? Why we keep running the same unhealthy patterns over and over again. Our subconscious is exactly like a 7-year-old child. It's exactly like a 7-year-old child. It questions everything. It loves familiarity, and it's very, very fearful. Very fearful. You might find yourself in so many situations where you're like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And that is your subconscious. That's the 7-year-old child. We're not accustomed to using rational thoughts now, especially practicing anxiety for so long. It's important that, we adopt new beliefs and we get rid of old limiting beliefs. And our subconscious finds one way of doing something and it continues to run the same pattern over and over again. Because our subconscious is 90% of that iceberg underwater, and the 10% above the water is our conscious mind. So everything going about your day-to-day lives, it's pretty much running on your subconscious. Your subconscious is holding all your beliefs. Your subconscious is holding all of your fears and traumatic events and embarrassing moments that happened to you in your past. And it really holds your identity, right? So it's about it's about building a stronger rapport with your subconscious mind and learning how to communicate with it. Okay, that's really important when it comes to just living a strong, fulfilled life and having a strong identity, right? We all want that identity. We all have people in our lives that we look up to and admire, especially like in the movies and on TV. And it's like, how do we get there? Or you put yourself down for not being that way. It's the subconscious mind that we really need to get in touch with. We need to build a rapport with it, okay? In Jungian psychology, the idea that you have a potential future self is made clear. You have this potential future self, and Jordan Peterson really touches on this idea as well and talks about it. Everything that you could be and that manifests itself in every moment of your present life. So you have this future self, right? Tomorrow, 8 hours from now, whatever, 10 years from now. We all have this future self. And every moment that we live our lives, we need to do things in order to benefit that future self, in order to stay on that path towards that self that you want to create, right? For instance, like if you're on a diet and you give into a box of cookies, you're betraying that future self 5 hours from now, the future self of tomorrow, right? You're betraying that future self for instant gratification, right? You're harming that person. And that's what he means, right? From, you have this future being, you're actually harming that being. Or you could actually do that being more benefit by maybe meditating, or you could go to the gym. No one likes going to the gym, right? Like who wants to go to the gym? Every time I go to the gym, I don't want to go, but I always go because I know it's going to benefit my future self. I need to get rid of the excess energy and so forth, right? It's all about maintaining a physical connection, right? Especially going to the gym. So every moment is an opportunity to change. That's what this whole point is really. That's what I want to get with this whole point, is that it's an opportunity for change. Every moment is an opportunity to benefit your future self, whether you're on a diet, whether you're meditating, whether you're reading self-help books or starting an anxiety program or doing coaching or whatever. That's where we want to go. And you have to be a fool before you become the master. You have to become the fool. You have to be willing to be a fool. A lot of people do not take this step because of their fear of failure. Their fear of failure. But it turns out you have to fail and become the fool in order to follow the path to your higher self. You have to become the fool. You have to fail, right? When you start a new job, when you're starting something new, reading books that you're unfamiliar with, or taking a language class, whatever it may be, a new karate class, you're going to be a fool. You're not going to know what you're doing. You're going to fail. It's going to take you some time to get a grasp of it, but that's important because a lot of people don't want to put themselves in that position in order to benefit their higher self, right? In order to grow. And this is important in life because this is the key to finding fulfillment in life and meaning, right? We have to jump into unfamiliar waters in order to grow as people, in order to get out of our comfort zones, right? All ideas are ridiculous. All ideas are ridiculous. You have ridiculous. If you have an idea for a business, if you have idea for a short film you want to make or whatever it may be, they are ridiculous, all of them. And the idea that you're going to succeed and get it right the very first time is zero. But it's important that you start. Make a bad first draft. Make a bad first movie. Make the worst movie you can possibly make. Just make it. Do you remember the the worst movie ever made? The Room? Well, I don't think it's the worst movie ever made because look how much money it made over the years it's been out. The Room was a terrible, terrible movie. The first Star Wars movie, George Lucas, while making it, thought it was terrible. He thought this would never, never work. But he made the movie. And look what happened. It's important that you do it. Make it terrible. Make it as terrible as you want. But just start. People end up waiting around for the right idea to come. And they wait for the right opportunity to present itself, but it never comes around. It's important that you just start and do it badly. Just do it. It's better to do it badly than not to do it. And that's where I'm going to end that rant. And then I'm going to start with the number 6 biggest habit a health anxiety sufferer does is too much time in your safe space, too much time at home. Do you spend too much time at home because you feel safe there? Or do you feel safe around your loved ones? Too much time around them because you want to feel the reassurance. You want to get the reassurance. And this stems from agoraphobia too, because agoraphobia is the fear of being in a public space and losing control, right? You don't want to be in a public space and lose control. You don't want to be in a public space and die. So these are the fears that kind of ruminate over in your head, and that's why you stay at home and not go out and try something new or go to the mall or the coffee shop, whatever it may be, or work. It's because it's the fear of not being in control and losing your grasp of reality, really. And it's in not being in control, right? That's what it just comes down to. And number 5 is leaving the event early. Leaving the event early. Why would you leave the event early? It's pretty simple, really. You're very internal, right? You're very hung up on your sensations, and it also it leads back to number 6. You want to leave to go back to your safe zone, your safety area, right? And it's the fear of judgments from other people. You don't want to feel judged. You're very critical on yourself. You don't think you're worthy. You're very, very, you have low self-confidence, and you have a hard time being around people, especially like at work and certain friends, because you're not only self-critical because you think of yourself as quiet, being too this, being too that, but it's the fear of not being in control, and it's the fear of judgments, because you're having panic or you're having bodily sensations, and you fear that you might throw up when you're with them, you might have a heart attack when you're with them, you have to go to call an ambulance when you're with them because you're having a panic attack and you feel like you're dying, right? So there's all these reasons, like you have a headache, and you got to be so internal, because anxiety sufferers are very internal, where they are constantly making sure that they're okay. They're analyzing themselves constantly and making sure that they're alive, they're well, they're healthy. And this drives them mad, right? This drives an anxiety sufferer mad, and they have such a hard time socializing with people because of that. They're very, very internal. Number 4 is calling a loved one for reassurance. This one was big, especially for me, where being at the art gallery where I had a panic attack. If you don't know the story, there's a podcast of it, one of the my anxiety story podcasts, and I called up loved ones for reassurance constantly, for like, what if it is something serious? What if I am dying? What if I this is the end? What if I have some serious health issues? And always getting the reassurance from a loved one saying, "Oh no, it's fine. You're okay." And that's good. That's like a miniature vacation. That's like a miniature Band-Aid. And then we get so attached to that habit, right? Because like every time we talk to the loved one, we sort of get a dopamine rush where it's like, oh, I feel so much better because I talked to you. So, and then when we're left alone again, we are very, very internal, and then we're very fearful. We're not comfortable with ourselves, right? If you have anxiety. So calling a loved one, and the less you do this, and the less I started to do it, the more comfortable I was with myself. And the reason why is because I faced the fear head on. Like, calling a loved one is such an easy way out, where it's like, challenge yourself and be like, I'm not going to call my loved one today, no matter what. And if it kills me, it'll kill me. And this is a great way to look at it. And this is what I started to do back when I was recovering from anxiety, is, not to phone up a loved one every chance, but to face the fear head on. And gradual exposure to the fear, gradual exposure in time will lessen the fear in time. But you have to take those steps. You have to challenge yourself in order to overcome anxiety, in order to strengthen the new neural pathways in your brain for a healthier, stronger you. Okay. Number 3 is touching parts of your body. This one is a big one. A lot of people touch like the sides of their chest when they're talking. Do you ever feel like you're rubbing the back of your neck when you're talking to somebody? You're in a conversation with somebody and, you're rubbing your neck, or, you're touching the side of your arm and you're rubbing it and stuff like that. That is a bad habit that needs to be broken. And this is a very common habit for health anxiety sufferers, because, like I touch in every podcast, this topic of your mind and your body are one, right? Your mind and your body are both one. So think of it like, as I said before, 90% is your subconscious. Your subconscious is storing repressed emotional issues deep within your body. So you might be touching a part of your chest or your arm. That part of your body is storing some emotional traumatic issue that you haven't dealt with yet, a fear that you haven't confronted yet. And your subconscious is telling you, pay attention to me, sending you bodily sensations, right? Sending you different sensations throughout certain parts of your body, and you're touching them. And this is a signal from your subconscious that there is something you haven't dealt with yet. And it's trying to get your attention. And it's doing a good job, because you are paying attention, right? Internally, you're paying attention. You're touching the parts of your body that is sending you sensations, right? And so that's what's going on. Your subconscious is sending you signals and reminding you that there is something here that you haven't dealt with yet. Could have been from your childhood, could have been from a year ago, doesn't matter when. But there's something there that needs to be taken care of, right? Number two, urinating frequently, urinating a lot. I used to urinate a lot because I thought that urinating would help flush out all the bad things that was in my body. I knew that at the time, when suffering from anxiety, urinating would flush out all the bad toxins, because I thought I had something wrong with my kidney. So I thought, and then I started drinking bucket loads of water, right, all the time. And I was urinating a lot, right? And I thought that I would pee out all the bad infections. I also thought I had a UTI, urinary tract infection. I thought I had one. I never did, but I was going through health anxiety, so I was drinking lots of water and cranberry juice and stuff like that, and trying to flush whatever was in there out, which was nothing. It was just my anxiety, right? So I was urinating a lot, and it was just subconsciously, I thought it would help. I thought it would flush the bad things out of my body, and that's why I was urinating, right? And to get over that, it was just like dealing with the underlying emotional issues, dealing with the negative beliefs, the limiting beliefs, all of this stuff. Over time, my habits would decrease and leave permanently. It's all about dealing with the root causes. Then the habits will deteriorate. Okay, and it's about challenging yourself on a daily basis. Okay, and then this brings us to number 1, one-word answers. One-word answers as the number one habit I find most people who suffer from anxiety. This was me in a nutshell. When you're talking to somebody and you're like, yeah, of course. And you're like, yep, mm-hmm. And you really just don't keep the conversation moving. But what happens is you just give one-word answers because you don't really want to be there, right? And this stems back to leaving the event early, which is number 5. Giving one-word answers, you don't really want to be there. You want to leave, and you're not in your safe zone. You can't socialize, because how can you when you're suffering from anxiety? When you're very internal, when you're so focused on your sensations and feelings, right? And so the one-word answers is very, very common, and the most common I find when people go through health anxiety, people don't know how to. People are not present. People are not external. Right? We can't really be in the present moment when there's absolute chaos circling within us. Too much chaos, right? And then when there's too much chaos, how can someone with anxiety be so external, right? When there's just so much going on inside, so much emotional baggage that needs to be dug up, that needs to be dealt with, okay? And that's episode 24. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. Please leave a rating on iTunes and comment and let me know. Message me any topics or go to unpluganxiety.com. I have one-on-one coaching there. Sign up right now for coaching. End your anxiety naturally with me. I love you all. Do not let anxiety define who you are. Have a great day. Bye-bye. For more podcast episodes, for more video content, and one-on-one coaching with me via Skype, visit www.unpluganxiety.com for everything you need to know about ending anxiety naturally. I love you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.